In this brief video lecture, I'll walk you through analyzing the rhetoric in Adam Serwer's article titled Colin Kaepernick's True Sin. First, you as a reader may want to do a little preliminary research to familiarize yourself with the subject matter of the article. For the simulation, I've Googled a couple terms since I want to know more about Du Bois and also hear more about the situation that occurred from Kaepernick himself. So in Googling Du Bois, I selected the NAACP history page as opposed to Wikipedia simply because I wanted to read about him in context. I noticed his dates, which seemed pretty significant. He was born directly after the Civil War and did die during the Civil Rights Movement. This makes him an appropriate figure for Serwer to open his article and then use as a segue into the Colin Kaepernick situation. I also found a transcript about Colin Kaepernick and his choice to sit for the national anthem, where he addresses this choice, and most of it talks about how he wants to affect change. He says, yes, he has been ill-treated in the past due to his race. However, he is taking a stand for, folks who just don't have a voice or a platform like he does as an NFL quarterback. So going back to the actual article, we're going to first look at the illustration about W.E.B. Du Bois. So I'm going to assume, all right, that, again, once you go through to take notes that you've already read the article at least once before, okay, so you don't want to take notes until you understand the actual article itself. All right, so after you've developed an understanding of its content, then you can read through and take notes about rhetoric. And so I'm going to look at the illustration first. So we get a little bit of information here about Du Bois, scholar, activist, and black radical. Serwer notes Du Bois's theory of the veil, okay, something that happened to him as a black child in a white classroom growing up in the North post-Civil War. He notes, of course, that childhood was blessed in some ways. So Du Bois was sort of privileged in a way. He had privileges that, say, a black child growing up in post-Civil War South did not have. He had access to education. Perhaps, even though I'm sure he experienced ill treatment, it was not as, this says, bloody or as violent, right, as the post-emancipation South. So Serwer illustrates Du Bois first. And you may ask yourself, well, why? This is an article about Colin Kaepernick. Well, think about what he segues into here with Colin Kaepernick. After stating the two issues that people have with his actions, one being disrespect, well, the second one is his background. People have taken issue with it because he was adopted by a white family. So this gave him certain privileges in our modern world that perhaps other people of color did not have. So we would say that this is probably an effective way to open an article by talking about a historically significant figure. Not just historically significant, but also socially significant. So Serwer, as a writer, goes on to, after talking about the opposition, okay, or opposing viewpoints to Kaepernick's actions, one being disrespect, he goes on to talk about, again, how people have criticized his background. So Kaepernick basically can't win for losing here. But one thing that you probably want to notice are the examples that Serwer uses. Donald Trump, Rodney Harrison, Sean Hannity, all of these very extreme examples. Now, this is either a rhetorical strategy or it could be viewed as maybe a weakness in the article. It's always best to try to have a good variety of authority figures or experts if you are quoting them. Okay, this is not incredibly diverse. Okay, so this is something that we may note. Serwer also makes allusions to other people of color who maybe are in similar positions. For example, President Obama, Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass. Okay. Again, this is to further illustrate the situation in the modern world that Kaepernick's going through, but also to connect it back to Du Bois. Okay, Du Bois gives this article a good focal point to come back to. And lastly, we get to Serwer's main point here, that his true sin, okay, is his rejection of the Faustian bargain offered to black people who reach elite status in America, that their success comes at the price of ceasing to criticize the racism in the system that allowed them to thrive as exceptions. And here's where you may also do another Google search. And if you search for Faust, you're going to find that he's a character in German folklore who sells his soul to the devil for vast knowledge and access to that knowledge. And so you can see how that might relate to this article. But essentially, Serwer's argument is that Kaepernick, even though he comes from a more privileged background that has given him a platform to speak out for those who do not have a platform and who are mistreated or ill-treated, that although he has that, people, his critics think that he shouldn't speak out, right? He shouldn't bite the hand that feeds, so to speak, at least from their perspective. But he has rejected, right? He has rejected that. He says, no, I'm going to speak out for those people who have been victims of police brutality, who were shot with their hands up, and so on. And so he's giving them a voice. And then we look at the end here where it says, but by sitting wordlessly on the bench, he's refused to be silent and is now paying the price. So Serwer ends with a bit of irony, right? So Kaepernick, by not standing up and expressing himself during the national anthem, is speaking volumes. Okay. All right, so I hope that this gives you some direction for those of you who are writing about this particular article, and those of you who are not writing about it. I hope that it gives you just another experience of how to analyze rhetoric. Thanks for watching.